Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. What's going on, y'all? Happy Monday, April 6th, 2026. I hope that you are doing amazing today. Hope you had a wonderful resurrection weekend. I hope you had a resurrective weekend. Indeed, I did as well. Thanks for asking. We're going to get right into it. Try to get a quick little concise message to start us off strong for the week. And let's see what we got. Ooh, 9 of Pentacles. I feel like someone was under it. No, it's not. That's interesting because I felt like something was behind the card when it first fell out, and then I double checked it even though nothing showed itself. So it could be, here's the self-security and assuredness that comes along with being not limited to financially stable and having financial stability, but even more so being energetically secure, self-secure, having esteem for self, maybe based on accomplishments and things like that, or perhaps being on the threshold of that experience, as we speak, and maybe there is something still playing, either running in the background, or it could be that you may still subconsciously feel like there's some catch, or you're waiting on some shoe to drop, or some addendum to a particularly lucrative and prosperous timeline that you're already on. Yeah, something about not feeling quite assured yet of the abundance and prosperity that you are already experiencing, like your real time experience, and maybe feeling like there's got to be a catch or something, yet to be considered before you can settle into it and feel like, feel at ease in the comfort of who you are and what you've established for yourself at this point, and the resources available to you, and your ability to manifest more, or at least manifest whatever is needed and desired at a particular time. Yeah, something about like finding your comfort and security in that knowing at this time. And it makes sense, because conditioning has groomed us to always feel like there's got to be something, coming around the corner, or that, like you can never feel too comfortable with yourself, especially if you're particularly in a good position at this time where there's no cause for alarm per se. Sometimes we can create it for ourselves. But let's see what else we got here. Ten of Swords almost popped out. Some type of betrayal, maybe being afraid of, of something sneaking up on you, again, or some other shoe to drop, or some unsuspecting circumstance to knock you out of alignment or off your square. Let's see. I swear, I was just about to say, there could be some rumblings in the background somewhere, but here it is, the 3 of Pentacles. But whether or not it's a true threat to you is debatable at best. Like just because weapons may have formed or may even be forming by way of opposition and resistance, whether that spirit embodied in people, or again, whether it's something that you're kind of cultivating in your own subconscious, it should not prosper when the evidence for prosperity is here. You know, it's materialized, it's in your possession, or you embody that possession, or you're possessed by it, whichever makes sense. Ooh, that's too many, but we got the Six of, I'm not going to take any of these, but we got the Six of Cups, something in the past, landed right on that Three of Pentacles. Here it is, trying to create an illusion about your forward movement, which, look, is already in process. You know, like the illusion is over here with the Seven of Cups, or some haziness or uncertainty, but meanwhile you already got motion, even though you appear to be standing still in that Nine of Pentacles. You're already in motion, on to something forwarding, whatever that may be. So again, it's debatable whether or not there's any effect of resistance at this time. I would say unlikely, you know, not in this energy at the Nine of Pentacles. Because at the Nine of Pentacles, is that the Five of Swords? Yes, it is. Look at that. So there's something going on in the background, or in the undercurrent, maybe the underworld, to refute this position of certainty, of comfort, maybe. But the Nine of Pentacles, like, what was I going to say? There's already an I don't think this is what I was going to say, but in this vein, like, there's already been an establishment of resilience here. You know, there's a track record, there's evidence, there is proven value, a show and prove type of frequency, where you didn't just get to the 9, which is almost the 10, without challenge as it is. So to me, it just says that, you know, to even come to a point of the Nine of Pentacles, you would have already had to meet a significant, a great deal of challenge in the first place, to be well trained and groomed to compose yourself, you know, whether it be on the defensive side or the offensive side, whatever reaction is called for. So that means that anything at this point, and look at the comparison, 3 people with 3 pentacles opposed to 1 person with 9. There's a great disparity there. That means it takes a lot more energy to come against whomever can relate at this 9, and there still is a grave mismatch. So I'm saying that to add to the affirmation of your confidence and personal security, because there really is no comparison, let alone competition here. Not really. There may be a lot of effort and a great deal of intention and ambition, but the efficacy, again, is what's questionable. The impact is which is what is doubtable when you can maintain this posture, which is why it's important that you do, and like I started in the beginning, not necessarily being paranoid or even expectant of some type of interference or some type of loss or detrimental impact to where you presently are, because what you've established at this point is what's a credit to your resilience and sustainability, which means that that's your greatest shield. to maintain that sense of self-assuredness. That's what carries you forward as a defense and an offense to those that want to test that. That still want to test it. It's really hard to penetrate that Nine of Pentacles field because there's not a lot to be bothered by, really. You know, like I said, like there's no obstacle you haven't faced at that point that hasn't groomed you how to manage it in any scenario, manage yourself really in any scenario. In the worst of times and in the best of times. You have a point of reference for all of it. So as I've been saying quite a bit, lately, whom shall you fear? And what shall you fear also? Look at this, came back out again. You're on your way. Whomever relates to this, you're already in motion. On your way to some place to be able to rest assured of your safety and security. Because maybe right now it is a bit hazy with that Seven of Cups. It's a little bit unconfirmed, you know, or there's still something about it that is questionable, you know, or up in the air, or maybe even vulnerable about your safe passage to the future. Like, where are you right now? Are you on a new timeline or are you not? Are you still somewhere, you know, in the middle on your way, or are you farther along than when you started? Or, you know, it's like the question marks of you that ultimately do build the foundation for this certainty and assuredness. You just got to already know. You have to already know that it is so. Whatever that desired presence may be for you, your greatest shield and sword is to know that it is so. Not a lot of opposition can fuck with that, because in that Seven of Cups, the only thing that can really be projected is either illusions of the past or of the future. It's not a lot you can tell someone in the Nine of Pentacles about the past that they aren't already certain of, you know, and have not already settled with and accepted. And same is true about projecting some future of worry or gloom, or, you know, some cause for alarm for the future that hasn't even occurred yet. The only way that would be allowed to have an effect is if someone in the Nine of Pentacles makes agreement with it, allows it to take residence in their auric field. But otherwise, you know, especially in terms of what the future holds, like being nervous about some outcome that has not solidified itself, or that there may not even be particularly any hardcore evidence to believe, that would have to be you surrendering your power and deferring your power to some external source when you have all the evidence otherwise. And at the Nine of Pentacles, to know, like I said, that there is no worthy opponent that you're not already trained to meet eye to eye, or to just disregard altogether. You know, there is none. Six of Swords. You're on your way to that peaceful shore that would affirm what you already know. Just sometimes when we don't have the physical evidence for it, particularly for future tense, it's hard to transfer what you know in the present based on the past to an unknown outcome. But in this case, someone in the Nine of Pentacles is being given permission to do so, authority over that creativity for in their own life, of course. And a lot of it is on account of the confidence to know, again, that you have the power, the will, the resilience, the skill, the resources. Everything that you need is within your reach or within your possession. So that at any given time, if you need to pull something out the toolkit or out the arsenal, you'll have exactly the proper response for any situation. So that eliminates the threat of fear for the future right there, because you're already equipped. If it's a battle on land, you got the arsenal for that. If it's a battle on water, you got a navy. If it's a battle in the air, in the mind space, you got the Air Force on. You got the Army on your side, you got the Navy, you got the Air Force on your side. What else is there? I don't even know. You got, I guess the fire would be like, what are they called? The Marines? No, are they water too? I don't know. I feel like the Marines are like the more intense, like special ops type of forces in a sense. So it's like you got everything that every single, every artillery that you need for future engagements, whatever they may be. And here's the thing, you probably don't even have to pull them out. That's the funny part, because with the Five of Swords, that energy is already defeated as by its own intentions, So it's like there's the other projection of illusion that you have to fight at all, that you have to even defend yourself at all. There is something far more fierce, which is the truth, holistically, that ultimately does the fighting for you. Look at that, how even in this boat, this woman and child, that's what's in the boat, are like surrounded by swords. That's like the truth right there. The truth that you make agreement with and that you affirm within yourself, the truth in regards to what is projected to you, and knowing how to discern what that really is and what it isn't, and gauging what level of threat it is or isn't. And then, of course, whatever your tactic or strategy may be, even if, again, it's to just stand down, whatever it is, it's like you have all of the necessary intelligence to protect yourself and to advance yourself. And coming off of this full moon in Libra, which was pretty intense, and also the spirit of resurrection that we just are, we're just coming out of. I guess today is like Easter Monday, so it's still lingering. It's still here. It could be a lot of projection at this time to evoke a certain response from you, particularly of fear or anxiety or insecurity, uncertainty. But it's like the energies that are plotting and planning are doing so with like old plans, like I said, like from an old timeline or from a season past, where maybe those tactics may have worked on you. They may have penetrated your force field effortlessly to make you feel insecure or uncertain, or where am I going? What's happening next? Am I doing the right thing? Am I in order? Am I out of order? La, da, 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 da. And now it's just like it's like they have, these energies have outdated intel, or I don't know what you would call that. Yeah, something about like outdated intel, or just like outdated information or just the wrong coordinates. I don't know, something here, because you're already on your way again. And we know the Six of Swords is moving to peaceful, calm shores, not to more chaos, not to more calamity, is what I just heard, or resistance. It's like to retreat in the frequency of rest. That's what the Six of Swords is on this way to. Not retreat out of fear, but retreat on to rest. So again, it's just affirming that Nine of Pentacles energy. This is like the foreshadowing of perhaps what some may be transporting to or transitioning toward. And then you got energies here that are like, how can we detour this transition? How can we, you know, rock the boat, so to speak? You know, make you jump ship before you reach your destination, you know, out of fear and out of you know, being afraid that the boat can't hold you, or the waters are too strong, or whatever, you know what I mean? Or you'll never make it. There it is, you'll never make it. Or there's no, in some cases, maybe there's no shore in sight. And I mean that in the physical sense and also energetically and psychologically, where right now you're not really sure why you should be so sure, but somebody still is. And that's a great power to possess. Not sure why you're so sure. Yeah, look at this. What did I say? But where they at? They on land. That's like somebody trying to break fast for the boat, and the boat is already sailed out. And that horse ain't going to get you over that body of water. And where you're headed, this energy can't go. It doesn't even have the transportation to really follow you where you're going. So this is really, really interesting. So either a great deal of effort was what's the right word, was thrust towards you, or is being thrusted, I don't know, upon you to stop you in your tracks. But like I said, the illusion breaker here is to know that you're already at the desired destination, even as you are in transition or in transportation toward it. Because the energy that all this energy has is swords. You know, all it has is, but it's the sword energy that is stifled or confined to a certain terrain. It can't jump out into the deep to really catch you. It doesn't have the capacity to. It's a shallow enemy, if one at all. You know, maybe by their own proclamation, but definitely not worthy to what's the word, to acknowledge. You know what I mean? It's literally like bringing a knife to a gunfight. Let me see. Yeah, so it's like somebody standing on the shore as you're sailing off, still yelling obscenities. And, you know, literally, this is what this is. It's like, your boat is sinking. There's a hole in that boat. there's a storm up ahead. Where you're headed, there's a lot of danger. You should turn back around. You know, it's like somebody literally standing on the opposite, the shore that you left, perhaps, that you sailed out from, just yelling at you, just projecting all types of, you know, false statements towards you, or maybe even some half truths, you know, with the Knight of Swords. Maybe there might even be something valid to what someone or something might be projecting to you. But whether it's effective, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe there is an enemy and that is the truth, but is it anything that I need to be afraid of? Probably not at this point. Is it anything that can destroy me, or that can, you know, damage, or anything that is really truly a threat to me outside of my acceptance or allowance for it to be so? And that would be, you know, the shield in this case. And really the defense would be to keep going. You know, like to just keep going. Ignore the chatter, even if it's coming from inside the house, i.e. inside of you. Just ignore that, because you're already on your way, and really theoretically, you're already there. Shit, maybe actually, because there's something here really strong about a timeline transition, you know, like a quantum leap, so to speak, where, like I said, it has happened in such a flash, or is, you know, maybe the first is correct, that it's like an outmaneuver against the enemy. Like I said, like they got the wrong intel or the wrong coordinates for attack or whatever. It's like you're not even there anymore. What they think is reliable intel of your location is false. And that, again, could be emotionally, could be spiritually, could be psychologically, could be physically, could be dimensionally. You know, there's something quite advanced about your position that makes you a hard enemy to track, or a hard target to track by any potential enemies or proposed enemies. Heavy on that outmaneuver. That just feels significant to me. Wow, look at this. Temperance. The balance is the outmaneuver. Because it's like, what you going to do when you come up against temperance? Someone that can't be provoked to self-sabotage, can't be provoked to fear or scarcity or fight or flight. Somebody that really is so tempered to have the courage to just be still where they are when all else fails, or when nothing is quite clear, to really just be able to stand still and to like hold your position. That's what I'm getting, like hold your position. What you gonna do with that? When the whole point is, the whole strategy really is to scare you into ultimately rocking your own boat or jumping ship altogether. When you meet a target, or you approach a target that's like, nah, I'm cool, or is certain that they're good, they have, again, protection from higher, greater, more dominant forces, you don't even have to lift a finger. You got angels in your arsenal or in your army. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't be moved. Let's see. Unless I want to be moved. Period. It's like somebody like, ooga booga 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 booga. That's the equivalent of this energy up against that. You would just look at that freaking Nitosaurus like, really? That's the best you got? Okay. Oh, I'm really scared. Oh, this fell right. Look at this. This fell just like that, and I love it. And I love it. And I love it. Exactly. Like, that is so, my goodness, like, that is, even if it had come up in the upright, it still would be no match for temperance, because temperance is the leading energy and it's the dominant one in this case, especially in the upright. Now, if it was in the reverse and the devil was in the upright, or even in the reverse, then it'd be questionable again, debatable. But temperance in the upright, that's not just one angel that stands alone. Like, that's archangel energy. So it's empowered in its own right. And then again, it has forces upon forces to resource at its disposal. Not disposal in that sense, but at its disposal just feels like, dismissive in a sense, but in its arsenal or in its resource, like you can, as a temperance energy already, you can call on as much, the highest force. Again, every department of security that you have access to is more or less at your command. Whenever you call on the army, if you got to fight on land, you got it, or materially, or physically, you got that. If it's a mental battle, you got that. If it's emotional, psychological, you got that. You got that support. You can call on those forces. If you need to fight fire, if you need firepower, you got that. You need, that extra oomph, that extra kinetic energy to really fuel your mission. You got that. It's like in temperance, you literally have, like, that's general energy, like Archangel Michael energy. That's the general of the angel armies. Appointed and anointed by the divine itself. A devil in reverse, again, is already defeated, and really it just affirms the idea that they outmaneuvered themselves. They did too much. Like, devil in the upright would be a more worthy opponent, but in the adverse and the reverse, they literally outmaneuvered themselves, played their own hand, played their hand poorly. That's interesting. I'm gonna get one more, but I feel like I'm gonna get one more though. But it just goes to show, it also does, and this is affirming as well, say that the devil in the reverse is as if the devil in the upright isn't a force to be reckoned with under normal circumstances. In the reverse, it says that this is like unhinged energy. So that's why it can become its own, be its own demise, you know, for the most part. But it does also um, certainly affirm the strength and the power and the force that you are to be reckoned with, for there to be such unhinged energy being hurled your way. You know, this is literally no holds barred and playing with no, you know, no rules at all, no boundaries whatsoever, like a baneful and reckless energy, willing to do anything to clinch the win or to put their victim down. Like a, you know what it's given? I'm seeing this, and it's funny because I kind of watched a video on it yesterday, so this is affirming as well. I was watching this like second, like a, it was about Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones, which everybody knows that I love. If you haven't seen any of the Game of Thrones cards readings, I love that series. And it was like a review, kind of, sort of. It was probably really old. I don't remember, but I'm sure it was old, about the psychology of Ramsay, you know, and how at the core of him, he was really just a wounded child, you know, that was fighting for, constantly fighting for acceptance and approval in a world that ultimately told him he was nothing, you know, that he was, because of his status as a bastard to his father's legacy, he was worth nothing, he was owed nothing, and you know, like that was his value ultimately. And so the way that he internalized it, which is a stark comparison to Jon Snow, was to be even more vicious. That's what I want to say, vicious, like more vicious and cruel and dominating and controlling. That was his way of asserting or apprehending his value by asserting dominance over, you know, ultimately weaker vessels or weaker souls, or making it so that he, or weakening them so that he could assert, you know, his value that way, or affirm his value that way, because it wasn't coming from anywhere else. And that ultimately was the spawn of his demise. Like that spirit was what really made him vulnerable to be taken out in the end, because he was just so cruel and so thirsty to be affirmed through his cruelty, and to, you know, to assert his security through his cruel acts, that last act that he did is what fueled the enemy at that time. It gave them all the force fuel that they needed to, you know, carry out his execution, you know, in the end. And that's the energy that we're looking at here for the most part. Like he had multiple opportunities to turn things around and actually, you know, kind of shift his ideals to benefit, that would benefit him more in the long run. But he didn't have, unlike the temperance energy, he didn't have the capacity to perceive those privileges and that favor as a benefit to him in the long run, let alone to submit to it. You know, like he couldn't just be, he wasn't okay with just being normal, because that was some sign of weakness to him. You know, he had built his identity in this cruelty, and so that's ultimately what carried him up out of it in the end. I probably didn't really, there's more I could say about that to really drive that point home, but that's what I feel guided to just kind of like, you know, to just kind of like splash here at this time, is that the psychology of this enemy is distorted. You know, this is not somebody that is fighting in honor or for justice or for truth, even for what they feel is due to them. There is no real justification for their ambition, or for the ammunition behind their fury. And when you're operating in that frequency, you almost always are your own worst enemy before you're anybody else's. And you might make some significant attacks and impacts along the way, but in the end, you will always get put down. You will always, because there's no energy created naturally or otherwise that can dominate a force such as temperance, especially not in the 3D. When you just have a constant flow of harmony in your being, that you can always alchemize the worst. Here it is, like I was saying before, every arsenal in your possession, or every artillery in your arsenal. I don't know, however the saying goes. You know what I'm trying to say. Every weapon in your arsenal, so to speak. You will always know exactly how to manage yourself in every circumstance before you harm yourself in the process. You'll always know how to bring balance, harmony, peace, healing, understanding, even love, resilience. You'll always be able to make something out of nothing, seemingly, or to turn something that was supposed to be for bad into something that works in your favor when you stand in a temperance energy. And again, temperance also denotes that it's wisdom there. You have had experiences that have trained you. It wasn't necessarily out of thin air, especially not in the physical form. You've learned and grown to come to this state of wisdom by encountering different offenses, different oppositions, different enemies. So you have a whole playbook of strategies, again, in your arsenal, to know that when I'm coming up against pride or fear or insecurity or doubt or addictions, because the devil in reverse could definitely be that, like addictions, lust, rage, jealousy, envy, like whatever the opponent, I got something for that ass. Oh yes, I do. And it's gonna put you down. Absolutely. And most times before I even have to lift a finger, and still maintain my posture, still maintain my composure, still maintain my pretty, all of that, and my pride and dignity in the highest frequency, and my righteousness, without having to even get my hands dirty. That's what it really is. Like when I'm saying lift the finger, like I ain't even got to get my hands dirty with certain enemies. With any of them, actually. Knight of Pentacles. And it feels almost like a surrender, honestly, this Knight of Pentacles, like where the enemy has to kind of like resolve to just give it up. Eventually, like, you win, here you go. And I wouldn't trust that, mind you, not as far as I could see it or sense it, whatever the case may be. But that's what is given to me with this Knight of Pentacles, like somebody that finally, after a long time coming, is willing to surrender and just come up off of what they've been trying to withhold or steal or assume in their own possession or take from you, or whatever the case may be. Or just even the Knight of Pentacles could just be, like I said, that confirmation of what's the right word? Like almost just like a really like a you win, you know, here you go, like your props, your recognition, not necessarily, maybe not necessarily actually, but energetically, that's what it feels like with the Knight of Pentacles, like a peaceful surrender in a sense, or willing surrender, as opposed to the Knight of Swords, where there really is nothing left to do but to just give up or give it up, whatever we're talking about here. And in that case, it's like, you know, with the Knight of Pentacles, what's that to the 9 anyway? You may not even, it's like an offering that you really could do without in the grand scheme of things, is what I'm trying to say. Not that one more pentacle wouldn't be nice to have to get to the 10, but coming from a knight, it really doesn't even, the value is not, is mismatched anyway, for real. You know, so it could even speak to someone wanting to kind of turn something over to you or give something to you. And, you know, you can use discernment on, you know, after a long fight or a long battle, or after, whether it's actually something physical, the way that it's depicted here, or it's just that notoriety or that that recognition. Again, it's like, I don't even need that, especially not from a knight. I don't need that. You could keep that. That was never, I didn't want to be in this battle in the first place, so I definitely don't need your surrender or your submission. Just be on your way. Like, kindly leave me be, is what I'm feeling with that. Especially coming out of the Devil reverse, because it could even be an ulterior motive to offering a Knight of Pentacles to look like it's a surrender or a peaceful, you know, submission of some sort. And it's like, aha, gotcha. Yeah, Trojan horse. Look at that, Justice. I wasn't even going to take one more, but I just naturally started shuffling. Justice. Look at that. Yeah, now somebody wants to do the right thing, or again, surrender, but it really, they have no choice. There is nothing left to do. I hope you can see this over here. You may not be able to, but that's okay, because we're done here. Justice seals the deal. Because what is due to whomever is going to be dispersed fairly, and fluidly anyway. So it's like, whether that justice does come by way of some other transference of wealth or energy, or confirmation or vindication. That's what other thing I was thinking with the Knight of Pentacles, like to be vindicated somehow by this Knight of Pentacles is a small token in the grand scheme of things. It's like, it's cool. Like, okay, thank you for telling the truth. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for turning over what you seized or what is due to me. Thank you for releasing my assets, or thank you for getting off of my property, you know, or whatever the offense may be here. It's like, okay, that's great. Thank you for restoring order and balance in the way that you have the power to do so. But if you didn't do it, it was going to get done, and by a more supreme more supreme court or authority anyway. Or it could even be the Supreme Court or authority that is imposing this justice, you know, through willing parties or not, you know, because this is Knight of Pentacles, which is a delay from what was a resistant energy. So it could still be some apprehension there to surrender or to cease fire or to stop attacking or to, you know, release hostages, whether that be people, places, or things, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it still could be begrudgingly or what's the word I just used? I think the word I just used, damn it. It could be, however, you know, it may not be peacefully per se, or there may be some resistance, but one thing's for sure is that justice will be served no matter what. That's the point that I'm trying to make here. So again, confirming from the very, very top of the message, you ain't got to worry about what's happening behind the scenes, what's happening under the surface, behind the veil, because that could also be an illusion too, to still have you thinking that there is anything effective happening where you can't see it, when for all intents and purposes, like I said, the enemy has been dismantled, you know, has been in some cases destroyed, but definitely what's the right word, defected or something like that, where they don't have the capacity to operate at the full function that they once did, in part to the fact that you are operating on a more advanced level than you once were, than you always have. So those two truths together are what ultimately exalts justice to be served. So whether you see it or not, or you've been notified, or the evidence to affirm that has been made known to you, or it is, whether or not it's even in your possession or in your material realization yet, is of no consequence to what you can already rest assured on. It's just as sure as already done, because it's just the natural order of balance that is happening in this 3D realm naturally at this point. And in some ways now, more acceleratedly than ever before, because again, the resistance has been dismantled. It's like the resources, like what was that I watched, where they had bombed all of the, oh, that was also a part of the Ramsey thing. There was one part where one of his maneuvers was, which at that time was dishonorable, but it put him at an advantage to sneak into the enemy's camp when they were sleeping and burned all their supplies, you know. So they were at a great disadvantage at that point, because they had no more supplies, no more resources to fuel their manpower. And that's what I'm getting here. It's like the resources have been torched, you know, the things that people used to be able to access within their power, in their own arsenals, are non-existent now. So the force that was driven by those resources is depleted. It's not as powerful as it used to be. Meanwhile, you as the target, whomever relates, has grown and in strength immeasurably at this point, not just because of what is embodied by you physically, mentally, and spiritually, but also, again, because of what you have access to on account of that embodiment. Two different forces that are ultimately unmatched here. Maybe not in number and maybe not in intensity in many ways, 137 on the clock, but or maybe not an intention, I should say, because what fuels you is definitely not what's fueling the opposition. But supernaturally, there's literally no comparison. Whoa. Ace of Swords. And that's all about to be made abundantly clear. Like revolutionary, I hear that, but I was really thinking like revelation in that regard is about to be affirmed and confirmed in the physical. So there's spiritual justice that's already been underway, which is the thing that you can, rest assured on. But there's natural justice in order that is taking place right now. And once you realize that, once that is revealed to you in a way that, is irrefutable, oh man, there's really going to be no other, look at this, 5 of Swords. There's going to be no other cause for alarm or conflict in your spirit of just how strong and powerful and resilient, maybe even, what's the right word, where you can't be, not undefeatable, but I guess irrefutable, kind of still applies. But there's no energy that would position itself against you, especially operating in the fullest form of truth, the purest form of truth, that stands a chance, which then does make you something like invincible. Because if you already have the evidence of every reason to feel so now, well, the spiritual resonance of every reason to feel so now, the physical is like having that ultimate win, or that battle, that like the battle of the bastards in Game of Thrones, which ultimately was Ramsay's demise. It's like after that, at first it looked like, Jon and his army were outnumbered and they were surrounded, literally being suffocated to death, squeezed in by Ramsay's army. But then at the last moment, here comes the cavalry. The Knights of the Vale rode in to sweep Ramsay's army, which was, astoundingly larger than Jon's, like something like 2 or 3 men to 1. And here it is, the Knights Vale came and just completely, wiped them off of the battlefield. And nobody had any idea, even Jon's army, because Sansa kept it a secret, that cavalry was coming in. It's like that. It's like when there's the final confirmation of who really is the powerful force here. Is it all the many oppositional forces and enemies that stood against you, or is it the last man standing? And in that case, Jon was the last man standing when the odds were very, very great against him. But the truth will always prevail. One way or another, no matter what, the truth will always prevail. And in this case, justice is the truth, and the truth is justice. So, as long as you're on that side, you err on that side of truth, you can never really lose. In this life or any other, on this timeline or any other, even when situations that seemed bleak or dire, the truth is always the dominant force. And if that's in your arsenal, then you're the most powerful force against anything less than that, and certainly anything that stands against it. So that's that on that. Again, be sure of this truth for yourself. Just know it. Just allow it to deeply permeate your spirit, even if it feels a bit delusional at times. Like you're not wrong, and you're not delusional for thinking that way, because that's the force that is ruling at this time, regardless of what it looks like. Trust me. And soon, it will not just be an ideal, it'll be evident. All right, so thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.